Welcome to Breaking Down the Bars, where I break down the poetry tools that I use to build the bars in my poems. That was alliteration. Whenever I teach a poetry workshop, I always equip my participants with the performance tools and literary tools that they'll need to create their own poems. So let's collect some poetry tools for your poetry toolbox. Today, we're breaking down the bars in My Anxiety.
Does anxiety see when it looks at me? Must see my thoughts and fancy itself a flag. Initiates the race and tells my thoughts.
Don't just take her along for the ride, drag her.
Must see a sea in my shoulders and anxiety's the sailor. Tying hundreds of knots so anxiety can sail along my back. My masseuse sees I wear my anxiety like a backpack.
Right away, I'm using a rhetorical question, which is a question asked just for effect, and I'm using personification. Personification is when you give human characteristics to an inanimate object. So in this example, I'm personifying anxiety. I'm giving it human quality. So anxiety can talk, it can feel, it can answer questions. And I feel like with this tool, with personification, it really enriches your imagery and it takes something that is abstract and it gives it those human qualities, making it more relatable and something that like you can identify with it, which I think makes the imagery in your piece stronger. In this example, I'm using metaphor to compare my anxiety to a flagger. So a flagger is the person at the start of a race that, does like this and waves the flag so that the cars can start racing. So in this case, my thoughts are the cars. My thoughts are the ones that are racing. With metaphor, you compare two dissimilar things. And so here you see I continue to expand upon that metaphor. So I would consider this a extended conceit, because with an extended conceit, it is a metaphor that's like unconventional, convoluted, and it extends over several lines, sometimes throughout the whole poem. So here you see I am still comparing anxiety to a flagger, and I'm saying that anxiety is telling my thoughts to drag me, and the use of drag that evokes. What's the difference between evoke and invoke? Evoke, to bring something to mind, like a memory, a feeling, or image. The poem evoked strong emotions from the audience. Invoke, to call upon something for help, authority, or inspiration. The lawyer invoked her client's right to remain silent. The more you know. That evokes a violent imagery, which is letting the listener know that, all right, these thoughts, these are not just nice thoughts that are racing. No, these thoughts, these racing thoughts are having a very negative effect on me. Okay, we got a lot going on here. So we have alliteration, which is the repetition of initial consonant sounds. So we have that with see, and sailor. Then we also have assonance, which is the repetition of vowel sounds. So with that long E, we see that with C and C. We also have wordplay, my favorite, by way of homophones. So C as in looking out, and then C as in body of water. And in terms of metaphor, we see that now anxiety has gone from being a flagger, and now anxiety has morphed into a sailor. Anxiety is getting paid mad jobs. Here we have more of my favorite, wordplay. Knots are being used as a double entendre. So if something is a double entendre, that means it has multiple meanings. So we have knots as in the knots that sailors use when they're, tying up the sails and securing the boat. But then we also have knots that are muscle knots that people tend to get in their back when they have stress. I am people. It is me. Here, I switch to simile, which is where you compare two dissimilar things using the words like or as. So since I have so many knots on my back, it's like I'm wearing my anxiety like a backpack. Thanks for joining me for Breaking Down the Bars. Were there any poetry tools you noticed that I didn't break down? Do you have questions? Definitely let me know in the comments. And if you are interested in booking me to lead a poetry workshop, whether in person or virtual, definitely make sure you hit me up on the contact page of my website. Thank you for joining me, and please do make sure you like and subscribe.